Strengthening relationships. Woo! I'm so glad that we get to like actually focus on this. I think in years past with the prior ignites, we kind of malazed over this. It was like get new leads, put them in a database, and good luck, right? And that was kind of the overall sense. If you notice now in this market, I was sharing a little bit this morning, was that we're kind of in this world of care calls part 2. If for those of us who were licensed or active around the time of when the pandemic started, you probably heard people talk about, oh, make care calls to the people you know. Basically check in, hey, do you need anything? And at that time it was crazy, right? There were no eggs at the grocery store, toilet paper was a premium, you know, all the most craziest things, right? And the care call was more so a way to say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything we could bring over to you? Right? Now the care call is more like, hey, how's everything going? Yes, the market is crazy, but let me offer you some perspective on it. And I keep using the example of, you got a friend, my friend lives in Northridge, great part of Northridge, the now then plumber. 3 months ago, his home appraised for 1.2 million, right? And he's an appraiser. And he's like, Philip, I'm so concerned about this market. Gotcha, Peter. Well, I'll tell you what, 3 months ago, you appraised at 1.2. 3 months from now, let's say it appraises for 900. You bought the house for 650 back in 2012, 2013. Are you bailing on the house? Well, that's a pretty stupid asshole. I'm not. And he said with a smile on his face because he knows he's not going anywhere. So really the thing in awe that people are in fear of is that they fear that they missed out on selling high when it was at a high, right? The reality is, do they really want to sell at that time, or they're just looking at phantom dollars that they lost, right? It's all perspective. Now, if someone really is like, oh my God, I really should have sold, and this is why, because my whole financial world is falling apart in front of me. That's where we come in as the coach and consultant to help them navigate now selling in this market. And we've now found motivation in that regard. Right? We're just helping people translate the market of the moment to their reality, right? Because the market is the market, just whatever that is. Now we're just going a little deeper and finding out what their goals are in relation to the market. Oh, I don't care about the market because I'm not selling, doesn't matter. High five. Let's ride this wave together. You know, at the same time, if there was an opportunity, would you be open to investing in it? Or if there was an opportunity where someone else maybe shared a different perspective on the market, would you mind introducing them to me so we can help them? And it just becomes a conversation around their goals, around strengthening the relationship. So that's gonna start us off for today. As you notice, we're still in lead follow-up, session 12, strengthening relationships. As we talked about, our #1 goal every day is to create new relationships and maintain and extend the relationships that we're already in. We're going to establish a mindset of that, identify the goals, devise a plan, and then we're going to hit our recaps and ahas from last week to this week. Quote of the day, know that growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. Would anyone on Zoom or here in the training room like to share their thoughts on that?
I think where I fall, I feel like, is clarity, and I'm working on getting the priorities and finally focused action.
There you go. Now we go back to mission, vision, values, belief systems, and perspective. Now granted, Jocelyn, that was like the first couple of sessions, but clarity might be clarity of our own mission, our own purpose, right? Clarity would then be on, okay, what's really happening in the market? Is it bad? It depends, right? Genius comment from Stephanie. She said, you know, anyone comes up to you about a real estate question, a real estate need, the answer really is, it depends,
Yeah.
right? Hey, Philip, is the market crapping out? It depends, right? You know, depends on what the individual's goals are. You know, if someone was planning on cashing out big on their equity from a refinance or HELOC, yeah, this does suck, right? If someone is renting out property and the equity value is meaningless and they're just concerned about cash flow, this is great. And why is it great? Because as mortgage cost goes up, rents go up too, right? So you're gonna see people get locked into paying more and more money on properties that were bought in the last few years, which would be interesting. Priorities. I go back to a book called Extreme Ownership, and one of the laws of combat or the laws of leadership that they use is prioritize and execute. You know, there's like 50 things going on right here, and our brain is just like scrambling. Oh, like, gotta pay my bills, gotta pay my license, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it's like, okay, what can I do right this moment? Like, what's most important? Being engaged in the classroom. This is just like my example, right? Being engaged in the classroom. Awesome. Then what can I do afterwards? Well, I have these 4 people to call. Great, next priority. Or when you're working with a potentially a new client, like I'll use Aurelio as an example. So he's the neighbor, next door neighbor to the house that we're selling. He bought the home, they bought the home a couple years ago, they're business people. So in my head, clarity is, okay, let's find out, what does he do now? Awesome. Who's another decision maker? Or what does he do now? What do they enjoy? What would they change about what's going on? Who's the other decision maker? We have a solution for whatever's going on. So the clarity there is finding out, connecting who he is. Then the priority is he threw all this stuff at me, he needs to do his taxes, doesn't want to sell, wants to leverage and buy another property, get something he can depreciate on. Okay, so this guy's like more of a real estate investor. That's where the priority is at. It's not about selling his house, it's about leveraging his current house. How do we do that? Property management, rent out the house, get income, maybe buy another house as an owner occupant. So now I'm kind of lining that up. Then the focused action is, great, let's regurgitate what he's telling us that he wants to do, and then offer a quick recap of how we can help and schedule a future appointment, which you guys probably heard. Hey, would you like to meet? We can all meet on Zoom, meet in person. However, let's, like you said, get all your taxes done, and then we can reassess in a few weeks. So we basically set the stage. The focused action was create enough of a connection that we get permission to call them, email them, text them, whatever. And he did write his number down. So when you guys call and schedule the appointment, and then off we go.
The person with his name was Juan?
Mhm.
Okay. He didn't want to give us too much information.
So there was one who wanted to buy the house, and then there was Danielle next door who was like,
Yeah, Danielle.
you know, she's actually wants to buy her own house with her husband.
Her mom stayed with her.
Yeah, her mom will stay, and then the brother still needs a co-signer to buy the house. And so there's 2 focused buyers right
Right
next
there.
door, and then another at the other door. And it was off of not, you want to buy or sell, it was, hey, we'd love for you to come out to our garage sale, which I thought was awesome. And so that is a basic clarity, priorities, focused action. If you want to go macro, it would be, okay, well, my goal is to save $15 million, and that $15 million at a 4% return will generate $50,000 a month for me. My priorities on getting there are building a real estate business, you know, bringing on 50 units over the next 20 years. And then that would be the clarity. The focus action would be, great, today I'm going to prospect, lead follow-up, work my appointments, handle my negotiations, you know, look at our balance sheets, whatever that is. So then that would be the priority or the focus action. That's macro picture, right? But you can even do that with individual conversations or people that you're working with. So leads versus contacts. So, you know, you're going to see this as a recurring theme in Ignite, and also you're going to see this in Bold. Just so you know, like I shared what I shared yesterday, and Bold is basically a deeper dive into Ignite, right? Like Ignite will set the stage for a basic system, and the basics is what makes people rich, right? Like the fundamental aspects of our business is exactly this diagram in a sense. So when you think of athletes, like anyone here or online, name your favorite sport. Football. Basketball. Okay, so football and basketball. Football, now granted, the rules change every season. But that is very akin to real estate, because all of a sudden, oh, we can't hit helmet to helmet. Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know? And then in real estate, it's like, oh, we can't like not tell the other party that we're representing both sides. Duh. Yeah. So there's elements to keep the game fast, keep it smooth, but the fundamentals are still the same. Blocking, the fundamentals of Tom Brady throwing the football is 7, he goes through his 7 keys of throwing the football. All those fundamentals of defense wins games, and then you're going, you know, can't really guard anymore. You know, you're just kind of running beside the wide receiver. But my point is that there's certain things you do repeatedly, and it's the same actions over and over and over again. Someone was watching video of Tom Brady and said, Tom, your practice from when you were in New England in the early 2000s is exactly the same or nearly exactly the same as it is now in Tampa Bay. It's like, yeah, the fundamentals don't change.
It works.
Amen. Why change it?
Yeah.
Right? We literally will repeat the same 3-step drop back throw. And it doesn't matter who's on the receiving end of it. It's literally the same route, the same routine, the same everything. Basketball, exact same thing. Basic dribbling becomes Steph Curry crossing over every human being on the basketball court, right? Every opponent. But it's the same fundamental shot, the same jump shot with a defender in front of them, same fundamentals, right? There's nothing really different other than he does it faster and smoother and repeated over and over and over again, regardless of almost anywhere on the court, right? And this is exactly that fundamental. You capture your lead, they go into your database, and you capture leads either through direct prospecting, was essentially what you guys are doing at the yard sale, right? That was direct prospecting. They were coming to us, we were prospecting them. The marketing aspect would be something simple like going door to door. Now you're prospecting and you're marketing. Maybe you left the flyer, someone picked up the flyer and said, hey, this is pretty cool, I'll be there. Or it may have been our ads, like that ad highlight that we did, where we shot it out to 1 million people, right? And 30 plus came back to us. That would be marketing. So however they come in here, they're either leads or we're forming a relationship off of that. And forming a relationship could be like Aurelio and his wife, where they're just like, hey, immediate real estate questions. How do we accomplish this through real estate, and specifically working with you guys, us collectively, and making that happen? Contacts, now we're contacting them to strengthen that relationship, and then we prepare to convert from there. So leads, you have the right to have a one-way conversation. Contacts, you have engaged in a two-way conversation. A value-based relationship has been established. So initially with leads, we're going right after them when it comes to real estate questions, right? Or they're coming after us for real estate questions. Contacts, these are the people that we already have a two-way dialogue that we're building. Maybe it started on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it started on text messaging, started at an open house, started on a cold call as a one-way contact, and now we're building that relationship up. Focus on building relationships and take market share. And that was from a top KW agent, Red Talks 2018. And real quickly, what that is that people forget right away, right? Like the mailers, there was a gal on here, I think that was Katrina Keller, is she on here? No, she's not on here, but she was on here last week and said that she quote unquote lost a listing to someone in her farm, like Carol Wolf or someone, whoever that person was talking to. If you build a relationship, you'll take all the market share wherever your focus is at, right? Now it sounds crazy, like, oh, Philip, there's like so many people that live in this neighborhood. Well, we got to be purposeful on how we're staying top of mind, right? Whether you're building through a database like us, I mean, now we're finally, after doing the yard sale, I can actually see myself engaging with a farm where I live, because I can do that with you guys in that realm. If it's like a cold door knock, hey, my name is Philip, would you like to buy or sell? I don't think I would sustain
No,
that.
I wouldn't ask that, because
It's so much more fun and it's easier to invite someone to something than ask for their business.
to go like door
It
knocking.
sounds a
and
little
you have something
commission
great to share with them, right?
Yeah.
Right, totally
But
agree.
then you can always
Yeah.
say, the way I was gonna approach it is, hey, I'm working for Keller Williams. I just wanna know if you wanna know more about the market, our current market.
Absolutely.
I mean, where I live, Lake Balboa, it's pretty hot. People, there's not much, inventory out there.
Anyone that does pop up, it's like the market's not affecting it at all.
Yeah. I know, I was at one the other day, an open house set for $1 million.
Yeah,
And they said,
and
oh,
they're gonna get it.
that's, yeah.
They're gonna get it. They're not getting the 50 offers
Yeah,
as they were before. I mean, just as a heads up, talk to Cindy, but most jumbo products, like they're loaning like above 950 or over 900,000. It's the interest rates are under 5%, right? So we have a client buying the Zent family, their interest rate is 4.75.
Wow,
Right,
Nice.
yeah, all things considered, right? And then another a couple of mine are working with B of A, and their rate's 4.6. You know, so it's
Those are
not,
jumbo loans?
no, that one's not a jumbo loan. That one's they're gonna get a loan for like 350 after down payment, right? So they're putting 100 down, and then their interest rate's 4.6. I don't know if that's because they bank with them. When I spoke with their loan officer, like, oh, this is what we're offering. I'm like, oh, well, just don't change it. You know? just don't all of a sudden come back to us and say 5.4.
Yeah.
they'll flip. But yeah, in that regard, there's definitely some leverageable points. And I like the lead off of coming as a resource and
Mhm.
consultant, you know, like, hey, we're inviting to this event. By the way, as you know, the market is the market, and if ever you need a resource on that, if you flip the page over, here's my contact information, here's a basic market stat of the area.
Mhm.
You know, and that's how I did it in Panorama City. It just got way too crazy for me, and so we got our database going. But the relationships you build that over time, you get the mind share. And that's what we're really focused on building. Start with mindsets. Today's conversation is tomorrow's transaction. Now that is pretty cool, right? Like I think of it this way. I have my coaches, right? And we only get to talk for 20 or 30 minutes at a time, right? Maybe 40. But it's very short, it's limited. But if I ever think of someone who wants to buy in St. Louis, Missouri, it's gonna be Coach John Sprague, right? If anyone's like, hey, who's a great real estate coach? Coach John Sprague, Coach Susan Rose, those are my go-tos. They're gonna always forever be in my head when it comes to those needs. And it isn't because I pay them, right? Like I pay for their time, but it's the conversations we have. Like I can't not reference something I've learned from them, you know, into anything that we do because of the value. So when I thought of what am I having conversations with about the clients, I was sitting in Texas and I wrote down, I've got to be my own Gary Keller for my market, right? I don't have to be the Gary Keller for everybody. I just have to be the Gary Keller in their world on my terms. No, I'm not as cool as him. He can do the tucked in black shirt and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, you're awesome. Yeah. And he wears the cool shoes to go with the black pants. I wear dress shoes, you know, but so yeah, he's like more young than me. He's more hip than me. So I do the polo shirt, he doesn't. But my point is that, you know, whoever that specialist is in your head, be you in that way for them, right? And so the conversation that Evie has with me, I'm thinking like, holy crap. A, she cares, and B, she knows her stuff, or she works with a group that knows, you know, like there's a collective there. And people know, like, they'll know pretty quickly, like, oh, he might not have all the answers, but shoot, he knows the people, right? I was joking with my coach on our team, I don't have super strength, I can't run fast, you know, I have none of the powers, but I can be that. You know,
Yeah.
I can show up with the utility belt, thumbs up, and off we go. Everyone else has the superpowers. Edie, Brittany, my wife, Maureen, Karen, Rick. Superpowers. My superpower is you guys are awesome. Oh my God, just incredible. But you know, think of the conversations you're having today. Like, what insight are you leaving in them? And I don't think they go over it. No, they're not showing it here. But the thought is, if the person can leave a conversation with you and feel smarter about real estate, they'll never not go anywhere else, right?
That's your superpower, that's what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But that would be kind of the priority, or if you were to like say, hey, how can I end this conversation? Is how can we make sure that this person feels this much more empowered about their understanding of real estate than how our conversation started, right? Whether it's a home bot link and they're getting that, like, you know, on your email signature or direct email, if they're getting a market update, or if they're getting a conversation with you or a text message, how can we make them feel smarter about real estate when they're around us, right? We don't wanna make it seem like this all, like they'll never reach. We wanna make sure it's something attainable from the ground up. And those are like how the conversations go. Like when I have 10 conversations, hopefully I feel, hopefully I'm leaving that impression that, hey, this is attainable and don't feel scared about the market. This too shall pass, or whatever their feeling is about real estate, right? Once you meet your new contacts, you either do business with them immediately or you don't. Either way, once you've met them, you put them in your database and stay in touch with them forever. And that's how we start from a lead to a contact or a contact to a lead, right? You know, maybe like a lot of, you know, you'll hear me say it, I'm at scouting, I'm at church, I'm at my kids' school. A lot of that is contacts. You know, there's no leads there. No one's coming up to me and saying, hey, I saw your sign, I want to sell my house. Wait, if that ever happens, awesome, right? But nobody effectively does that on a normal basis. It's gonna be a two-way conversation about our kids, about the school, about life. And then it becomes, oh yeah, you do real estate, that's pretty cool. What do you think about the market? Or whatever that opens up to be. And even real estate, even before I was in real estate, that was a dominating conversation. You know, and that was like in 2003 when I became conscious of the real estate world, you know, until I got my license. Those 10 years, real estate was still a hot topic through the recession or the start of the recession, the crash, whatever you want to call it. It was still a hot topic.
Yeah, because everybody wanted to buy those, what they called it, foreclosures.
Yeah, I remember my mom telling me,
Sales.
like, oh, hey Philip, I need your credit. And this is not a bad thing. I
No,
thought it was a
I-
bad thing at the time. But she was like, I have the down payment, you have the credit, let's go buy a condo on Laurel Canyon or Coldwater Canyon and Sherman Way. And I was like, oh mom, you know, there's a reason these things like foreclose. And it was like $80,000 for a condo at the time.
wow.
You know, I'm kicking myself, right?
Yeah,
So-
no, you don't know that.
Should have listened to mom, that was a learning lesson there. Mom knows best.
I was gonna say that.
Is the building still standing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I showed Klein a home there a couple of years ago and thought, dang, this could have been,
Oh.
this could have been my condo for 300 grand, you know? I could have been selling them for 300,000.
That was probably 4 or 5.
Oh, it's a trip. I remember one of my neighbors in Ranchito, they bought the home for like 120,000.
I know, I can't believe that.
That's insane.
That was
And
the price of my first home, 1995.
And that was 2009. Would you say that was like the low of the low, right? Like people weren't flipping yet, or the flip, you know, it was. I don't know.
People
Sorry.
were just buying just to live there forever, thinking they're.
Yeah.
Then it started climbing, they're like, hey,
Oh my
I can
God.
make that much.
Yeah. Learning lesson there is, hey, when there's an opportunity, now we kind of have something to reference and say, wow, I missed out.
Yeah.
You know, and my mom had a reference too. She never thought Valencia would be a place to live. And homes there cracked up like 50 grand at one time, so she's just
Wow.
insane,
Yeah.
insane. All right, identify goals. So lead generation turns into lead follow-up, turns into the transaction, or lead follow-up to lead conversion turns into the transaction. So it's very basic. This is like the 101 of real estate. We start by being purposeful in our lead generation. And only you've heard me say like a broken record, outside of someone just saying, I'm ready right this moment, lead follow-up, if you notice a longer arrow, it's gonna run about 12 to 15 calls or touches before it turns into lead conversion, right? It sounds silly, like, Philip, what the F? I thought all we had to do was contact people and they're ready now.
Yeah.
And maybe they are, because I followed up with them and then dropped the ball and then you guys call in and there they go, right? But it happens. Joey Ramos from The Office, you know, he sold my brother's friend a condo, his first home. And the SOB was talking to me about like, how do I buy my first house? You know? But-
SOB, I love it.
Yeah. But
Your brain.
you picked my brain, and what's Joey?
Oh my God.
I can laugh about it because it's Joey, right? But you know, the ball was dropped on my part. I didn't, and here's the learning lesson in it. I went after my friend and didn't include his wife in the process. He got married through that time, you know, obviously I should know better. Who's really the boss, right?
Yeah.
Regardless.
Now you know, Philip, now you know.
Yeah, and I took for granted that, you know, he could just kind of massage our way into like being the realtor of choice. He had no say. That bad boy went to his wife to decide who was who, and Joey, you know, had a way better relationship. And that was that. You know, no love lost. We're still deep good friends, and off we go. I think I would have had a better chance if I had taken the time to follow my own advice, follow my coach's advice, and say fundamentally, great, this is what they do now, this is what they enjoy, this is what they alter. Who's the deciding member besides my friend or this person I'm talking to? Oh, his wife and their moms. Okay, that's who I need to win over, right? I got my foot in the door. And then again, not to take away from Joey, but if I would have had a better chance if I had made that assessment and made the call, made the right action, right? What was it called? Clarity, priorities, and then focused action. I had clarities, priorities, and my actions weren't that focused. That's it, right? We live and learn.
Yeah.
And good job for Joey. That was an awesome first time out. So that's how that all kind of ties together there. Identify goals, convert lead contacts to close business. This is like the basic of the basic. You take your contact database, say it's 1,000 people, and now we're gonna take 1,000 and we're gonna say 5% of that, you know, that's 50 transactions. But the idea, Haley, would then be to convert to business. And it doesn't have to be direct contact, right? It could also be referral based. There's just different aspects there. Stay top of mind. Now, this is where we want to kind of hit this. This is definitely worth a photo or a screenshot if you're online. Sellers, one agent, 74% of their mind, and very similar to buyers, 75% they're thinking of one person, right? Now you can think of however they think of that person, and Chad, consistent mailing. I like to think of it as memorable conversation reinforced with handwritten notes and basic emailing and social media, right? Not blowing them up with 2 emails a week. But we're gonna get into that. The idea is, how do we leave an impression? And if you notice what we're doing, what are we doing? 10 contacts a day, so there's a contact. 10 handwritten notes, so there's a personal note being written and sent out, so you're doing maybe 2 to 6 of those a year with that one person. If you also include home anniversary and birthdays. We're engaging on social media, the 10-5-1. That one, the 10 being liking 10 posts, 5 postings on their specific posts, like 5 messages, and then 1 post of ourselves on social media or direct messaging a person online. So if you were following up with me, you had a phone call with me, you sent me a personal handwritten note thanking me for the time or a conversation, and now I'm seeing you like my stuff on social media, I'm seeing your post, I'm reacting in kind. So now when I think of real estate and I think, wow, shoot, you know, Evie and Brittany and mother-daughter team, and wow, that's a cool service. They did a yard sale for their client. Man, they got 1-800 man, they really invest in cleaning. Yeah, that's the stuff going through my head if I'm a consumer, right? And I'm your friend. And I'm thinking, yeah, hey, my mom needs to sell her house. She's got a ton of junk in her house. And you met my mom, she is a hoarder. She's awesome. But she's super clean. It's just so much stuff. It's unbelievable. But yeah, if I thought of selling my mom selling her home, I would probably think of you guys. In that example, right? It would be, oh, hey, this could be a match. You would be that 74%. Now remember, Gary Keller says, you know, be the top 2 in the MREA. You want to be number 1 or number 2. You really want to be number 1, because at least you might get that phone call, or the next time you call or send them something quote unquote timely, automatic in other words. They're like, oh, Brenda, I got your email. You know what? I need to do this. My tax came in, I'm paying way too much. I need something to get a write-off on. I don't care if interest rates are 8%, let's do this. Right, and we don't get there unless we're consistent on those activities, right? We earn our way into this by being consistent on the days that we say, hey, we're engaged, we're here, we're doing it. I will share with you guys one weird note, without an assistant, we actually do have to time block maintenance time, right? So if you ever feel like you're meeting a ton of people, and this is the same trap I fell into, if you're meeting a ton of people Monday through Wednesday, maybe you take Thursday morning and just time block, hey, I'm gonna go back and maintain and make sure I'm sending out the notes, making sure I'm putting them on the database, making sure I'm tagging them for follow-up. Treat that maintenance time as important as generating new leads, because without the maintenance, it's like these people fall through the cracks. That's how you end up with piles of paper and 40 missed sales. That was the example I shared with you guys the last couple of times. So you definitely want to stay top of mind, but leverage mind share for referral business. So when you go back to this aspect, this is where referrals, and again, you kind of earn your right into the referral, right? Like people say, well, what else do I talk about? Well, the market's constantly changing, right? There's something always happening. So when you're giving something of value over the phone, the big ask from Evie to me might be like, Philip, with everything happening right now, is there someone in your world that could benefit from this information, right? And let's say you were talking about that example we use, your home being worth 1.2 3 months ago, 3 months from now it's 900 already bailing on your home, right? Sorry, that's how I talk. Right? Are you walking away from your house? Whatever you want to use for the words, and they say, well, no, I would stay. Awesome. You know, my big ask to you, Evie, or my big ask to you, Philip, is who else do you know that would need to hear this type of information? Oh, it's funny you mentioned that. That's asking for a referral without asking for a referral, right? You know, it's a little psychological thing, I guess, or neuro-linguistic programming. NLP is a lot of stuff we don't want to bolt, by the way. You know, they're really big on self-talk and then how we talk to the client and people that we're following up with and prospecting. Leverage mind share again, for referral business, we just hit that. We're gonna do like the big ahas at the end. Devise the plan. Now, this is, again, I'm showing you guys this and I'm telling you now, I don't use all this stuff. So if you're online and you're watching the recording, the 19 to connect and 36 to convert is something I'm still exploring, only because this little part of me is like, God, that's so many emails, right? Like 26 touches of bi-weekly email offering some type of information or value to the customer. I'm still like adopting that personally. I love the idea of 12 touches, a monthly email, and we're finding that that's been great results, and we're having a higher degree of open rate on a 12 touch, right? They get the calls from me, 4 quarterly calls, love that. So that never changes. The 2 touches of direct mail. So as long as we have a birthday and a home anniversary, we're sending the direct touch. Or after one to two of these calls out of 4, I'm having my VA send out a thank you card to them. And then the big event, the one annual event, that's something we're still working on ourselves. So as you do this, I believe in failing forward. So take this with a grain of salt that I don't do all of this stuff here. And I'm still adopting what I would consider our own version of it, right? I don't like the preset stuff that they used to send out, you know, like, oh, here's how to make bread, and here's Flag Day, and here's, you know, like, and I mean, if that stuff resonates with you and you feel great about it, and the person actually loves making bread, set up a campaign and send them that type of stuff.
We've done newsletters where we throw a little bit of that in and our market report, our information.
I think that's cool. What is part of like a monthly thing? I used to send emails that said, hey, this is how you bake bread, how you clean out your house. And it was like the cheesiest stuff.
Yeah.
And people would just unsubscribe after a while, you know? But
Did some of the cheesy stuff too.
yeah, and I unsubscribed myself. I was like, no, I know this is for practice. I'm unsubscribing me from me, right? But no, again, you kind of find what gravitates towards you, and I'm working on my own thinking on this type of stuff, right? I get inundated from different companies, so I eventually will unsubscribe from those. But that's just me. It might be different for other people. This one is craft a message. So this is where I'm actually fixing my thinking with my virtual assistant, is use the 6 connection questions, and we'll go into that. Include a MOFIR, make offer for immediate response, right? So this is where we actually thrive a bit And that make offer for immediate response, we use HomeBot for that. So if you want more information on it, just text me and I'll send you like the link of the gal who set us up for it. And that's how you can create an immediate response right away in terms of that. Develop your 30. Now this is where we would sit down and actually develop a smart plan around that. And the 6 connection questions would just be like who, what, where, how, that type of message and building it. But real quickly on the 36 campaign, I have to move this again. The 26 touches would be a bi-weekly email offering some type of information or value to the customer. Now that could be something as simple as a market update. So HomeBot would be a good one to kind of work around and then go from there. And then continuing that base. Oh man, it's awesome to see my phone blowing up. I'm like, oh, you've been meaning to call me. Let's see here. Fill up, goal setting to the now, plan your touches. So the smart plans in command, you can actually adopt what they have here. And there is, okay, so there is one that we do use. It is the neighborhood one, but then they really will bombard the client with 2 emails a week of like a market update, right? I say bombard, we have you practice on our own, and it's not too bad. But we prefer HomeBot only because it's more user friendly, right? So as much as I love, command, we found elements of things that were just slightly better in terms of just usability and
Can you control how many go out? I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can assign it. The tagging system, when you're tagging your contacts, is very important because you can tag it buyer, seller, both, whatever. I tag it specifically to my old high school, so it'll say Nobles or DMHS, and then I know those are the people from my high school where it'll be like a millennial type post or a throwback post or whatever.
okay.
I'll have one for my past clients off the bat. So if we needed to send to the 100+ people, we have a way to just identify them and send them the same email all the way across. So instead of going name by name, you can go through it a few other times, or as you're calling through it and just create the tags as you go. And they have preset tags, buyer, seller, agent, but then they also have like you can create your own as you go through. Like you might have one for property management. Or if for a specific company you work for and that's how you know them. So in addition to being a buyer or seller, they would have that tag as well. And then ahas. We're gonna end a little early today as we get on the phone calls and all that fun stuff. But any ahas for the day that anyone would like to share?
Friday is my last class.
Working on that. I actually, if we don't do Wednesdays, right, because of Bold, I asked Stephanie if we could do the Tuesdays that we don't have a sales meeting, right, and the Fridays, and we would still be done like June 28th. Like we would finish the entire program by the end of June. I highly encourage those, at least get to day 1, and then, I challenge you guys to actually jump in and do Bold as a whole, especially if you're considering leaving Nordstrom's. I would totally do Bold and then maybe get that one day off, the sick day or day off, so you're just engaged that full day. It's definitely worth the investment. However, if we're not there, it's not the end of the world, right? Ignite is here, and we're going to do a second round 1 through 20, and I'm thinking September when school starts. It would carry us from September essentially through right before Thanksgiving, adjusted for different days off and days that, like Labor Day or whatever. And I was also thinking of doing it on Mondays. So the program would actually be Monday through Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the way it's meant to be. And we would start at 9 and then do a deep dive from 9 to 12. Right. So kind of working out my schedule, working out the office schedule. I know there's other things happening here too. But this whole thing was designed for us to actually make calls as if we're in Bold, and all that fun stuff. So that's something we can kind of hit on and go from there. What about Heather, Lexi, Christopher? Any questions that you guys might have?
No questions here.
Any ahas about creating relationships or anything like that where